Hey guys, still here and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon Ranked. This is the second match after last week's match where I got completely schooled. I have decided to go into Ranked again. I'm going to try and make this a weekly series on Wednesdays. Whether I'll always be able to do it, I'm not sure. My evenings is usually when I would do this, but they're also filled with, trying to put Quinn back to sleep. So, last night I did have some time for it. And I chose not to immediately record it, so you're watching the replay. This does make it a bit easier for me, going with a replay instead of a live gameplay, because then the cognitive load is a little lower. If I'm trying to do a video commentary plus gameplay at the same time, then my brain gets busy. I will start to miss stuff, I will start to get losses that I really shouldn't have taken, and of course the gameplay is going to deteriorate from there. This time around, no such thing. I can just comment on the replay as you see it, which makes it easier for me to also analyze any mistakes that I might have made. The deck that I went with this time around was a Baltic Motorized deck. It is set up with a couple of helicopters, and you can see me spawning them in here to try and capture the buildings over here quickly. I thought that, considering that this is an open sector and I am a motorized deck, my few options are to take this early or later on with a bigger offensive. So I thought, you know what, we're going to go early, at the risk of encountering other helicopters. To cover that risk, I made sure to send at least one Sokol in, and I also had a 913 circling. You're going to see that in a bit. The rest of my strategy is to send forces to Bravo, make sure that I have at least some forces in Bravo, and otherwise fall back to the forest north of Charlie. But of course I would like a presence here, because once I have control of at least part of the sector of Bravo, I can push a command vehicle in there and make sure that I start to tick those valuable conquest points. Over on the flanks, I want to have at least some reconnaissance here and some reconnaissance over there to ensure that there are no sneaky offensives coming my way. Whether they be in the form of helicopter pushes or just sneaky reconnaissance forces which spot my command vehicle by any chance, I do not want that. My enemy, Epic Gamer 69, he was using a USSR deck. I couldn't quite figure out whether it was a specialized deck or not. I don't think so. Although I did not see any heavy tank. Come to think of it. No BUs, no T-80Us, nothing like that. So it is possible that he's using a different form, but those of you more skilled in ranked can probably tell me about that. So, sending the forces off to work. The group over here is the KT to provide support with rocket pods as well as autocannons, 2 Mi-17s dropping off infantry, Super Puma dropping off Eric's. So I have a little bit of anti-air, I have a little bit more anti-air in the form of the Sokol, 2 infantry units. Those are Spado if I'm not mistaken. The 913 spots the K-52 but cannot do anything about it, and fortunately, and this could have gone very different indeed, the Sokol takes out the K-52, which deals a hefty blow to the enemy early on. Then the Mi-8s are fair game to the Mi-8 KT. They go down quickly, and I'm able to land my forces. The MiG-29-13, unfortunately, I didn't manage properly. I was too busy focused on the stuff here. And the 29 just kept circling over there, much to the chagrin of the Scrajjet and the Igla. And when I do eventually evac it, it's already too late. Over here I have my other forces, XA-185 KRKKs and KTs, as well as guys on the other flank. And you can see that Epic Gamer is already trying to scout the flanks here with BRDM-3s, and he has done the same thing here with a couple of Urals. My other forces here, and my plan here at large, was to just secure this bridge with a couple of with ATGMs. I saw the Mi-17s, I thought rocket pods. With a couple of ATGMs. It doesn't necessarily have to be really high-end ATGMs either, just so long as anything that gets spotted over there gets shot at. As you can see, I have not yet invested in command units. I wasn't really interested in those yet. I first wanted to get a firm grasp of the sectors that I was pushing into. Bravo, Golf, and Foxtrot. MiG-23 MLD comes over, takes out one of the Mi-17s, the other one survives. Which I then promptly push into the Scrajjet and the Igla, which fortunately is out of ammo, but the Scrajjet itself is perfectly capable of eradicating the Mi-17. It will not need any help. So I should have held those helicopters back. Next time around, I don't want to have them linger that long. The guys that I dropped off here were the Eriks and the Spado. These are Spado 90 with a high-end armor-piercing weapon, so that if a heavier tank comes into range, it's going to get disposed of very quickly. And against enemy infantry, they would also be probably more useful than the Eriks, but the Eriks can definitely hold their own against vehicles and helicopters. Scratchhead is now engaging the other Super Puma, which happened to be landed, and my Fagot is able to take that out. Over here, I just have one Zwiadowski. He has two sections of Spetsnaz GRU, and on the other end, he also has an Mi-24D. I'm only spotting this now. I don't think I even spotted this during the gameplay at all. This is absolutely news to me. BRDM-3's in a position to scout pretty much everything. I have my one Zwiadowski over there. Logistics need to be managed a bit better because the truck is a dead giveaway that something is there. And beyond that, I should have been more aggressive. I should have put the Zwiadowski over there. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I could hold my own here. So for quite a while, I'm just going to be reinforcing. There's a Merida coming in, another reconnaissance unit. I have a recon here. I'm reinforcing the middle with a Newa SC to counter enemy airplanes, and there are going to be a few of those. You can see that Epic is scouting out against the Zwiadowski with the the empty Urals, just seeing how far he can get. And considering that he got this far, he got actually a bit too far. I should have had potentially more reconnaissance here. Maybe another BMP-1 TJJ over there. I mostly use these as picket lines. They're able to at least hit stuff, generally, with their Conkers. But unfortunately, they're not terribly accurate. Now, over here, we have Epic Gamer coming in with the BMP-685s. He's just seemingly reinforcing the sector of Hotel. And over here, we have a bit of a skirmish. I just wanted to see how far I could get, because I was dedicating quite a few forces in here. But I thought, you know what? Let's push the contact. Let's see how far I can get. So I'm pushing in Karuppiah as well as Formosa. Formosa with their grenade launchers better against infantry, and the Karuppiah against transports. At least that was my thinking. I'm keeping some of them in reserve back here at the lower end of the crest of the hill, so that if something comes down in a retaliation, I'm able to take those out. There are more of them coming in. And I'll just get this out of the way. I made a mistake in the sense that I have Yekeri 90 in the XA185 KT, but for the longest time I forgot about them. I forgot that I had them in my deck because my infantry section was not in the way that I normally had it formatted. So you're going to see them come in really late. It's going to take me a long time before they come in. In the meanwhile, you can see Epic Gamer over here coming in with the Spetsnaz, and I still had no idea he was there. Very dangerous to have these guys just go in unescorted, or to go in without being detected by me, counter-detected. At this point, I think I'm secure enough to bring in not more units, but a command unit instead. Gaz69 is taking control of Charlie, and thereby putting me at a +2. Of course, that will not last long, because Epic is doing the same thing for Hotel, which will immediately put the ticker back to neutral. Now, the Formosa have been seriously wounded after an encounter with VDV, although they have hurt the VDV in return, so I'm pulling them back, and I'm bringing up a logistics unit, I think, yeah, there it is, to try and reinforce that group. As for the rest of my line, Zwiadowski over here are mostly covering the section, over here at least. They cannot see the Spetsnaz much as the Spetsnaz cannot see the Zwiadowski. I think they might be aware of the Scot. No, they're not. Interesting. They might not be on the outskirts of that forest enough to see the Scot. This was more a mistake than anything else. Yes, the machine guns can be useful somewhat, but one serious attack from the Spetsnaz and they would be gone. So more of a picket line than anything else. Fagot's out of missiles. I should have handled that a while ago. And over here I have reinforced the sector with a Terramusti, so that I have at least something that's going to be able to do a little bit of damage against transports, as well as an AGGM here and there, backed up by a Merida, a KT, a Recon, and another KT. This way I'm hoping to have a sufficient coverage between autocannons, main guns, reconnaissance and AGGMs to stop most offensives, or at least slow them down. The naval SC turned off, standing by in the middle of the map, and with a range of 45-50, it should be able to just, well, at least intercept aircraft to some extent. Look at that. The Spetsnaz can probably see everything and anything coming in. That is really well done. I should have had reconnaissance here, so that's a lesson learned. I should make sure that this forest, or rather this section over here, gets covered. To not have Spetsnaz VMF just come in. Because now he spots that I'm bringing in another command unit. And with that, he knows that I'm not investing in more units. Then again, he's doing something similar. He's bringing in a KT, an Mi-8T, as well as a UAZ. So he's going to be capturing both of these sectors. Another small skirmish here between more Formosa and Kartiniekeri against VDV, but also BTRD over there and the Skrajet. The Gornos, unfortunately for them, cannot interact yet. And fortunately for me, there were not a whole lot of autocannons firing back at this point. But I was trying to get at this. Because I thought that at this point he might have a command unit coming in, and he did. It was just going to take a little bit more time to get there. He's holding it on the edge of the sector. The infantry over here has taken control of Alpha, and that puts him at a +1. There was not really a lot of contact at this point. It was mostly reinforcing / consolidating positions. I have one gas taking control of Gulf. I have another gas coming in to take control of Foxtrot, and that would put me at a +1. Spetsnaz have been spotted, so I put an attack marker on it. And the KT is unfortunately not able to find them, but they did take out the Scot that was hiding over there in the water. At this point, bringing in a Talak 84 to try and support any infantry or counter any infantry offensives that he might be launching. Because as you can see, he does have quite a few vehicles, but not really the infantry to go with it. These vehicles are all unpacked, probably transporting VDV. And some of the VDV have been neutralized by the Kartiniekeri as well as the Formosa. Now he's walking around with his command infantry, putting it in the forest over there. I have captured Fox and Gulf. I'm not at +1. I'm no longer bleeding points. But I have a Copa coming in to try and capture Bravo, or at least counter-cap it. And when that happens, I'll be able to start taking some points. Doing a little bit of an offensive over here on the left, just trying to see how far I can get. Sviadauchi spot the Spetsnaz, unfortunately not able to take them out themselves, but they get support from an X-85 or an XA-185 KT, and they're able to wipe it out. Now at this point he's bringing in more units here, trying to reinforce this side. He also has a VDV, and I really don't have anything there. I'm just seeing what I can find, and if there is nothing, then maybe I can push in a little bit more here and potentially start firing HGMs into anything that spawns. The command vehicle is over here in Bravo. Of course you have few positions that they can be in relatively safely. You don't want them on the front line, or at least I don't. You can have them in these tree lines. This is a little section where you can hide it, so I was just putting it over here, hopefully not getting it too easily detected. Still trying to reinforce my side over here in Bravo, because if there's going to be any offensive, I'm expecting it over there. And you can see that the BTRDs with more Spetsnaz are arriving, as well as a Nona far in the back of the lines. And there's more BTRDs spawning in. The offensive over here, not too spectacular. Sviadauchi getting the kill on the transport with support from the Mi-8. And I was hoping that he did not have any kind of anti-air over here, and I seem to be right, at least for now. Because the Mi-8T does not get countered, and the Sviadauchi can more or less continue with their maneuver. Also bringing in another BMP-1. I have one over there. So my flanks are reasonably well secure. There was a bit of a skirmish going on here on the far right between Sviadauchi and the BRDM. My BMP-1 knocked out another BRDM that was over there. So also on this side I'm trying to make some headway. It didn't really matter that much because I was not planning an offensive. Despite being a motorized deck, I thought that was going to be certain death if I was trying to cross that section. So let's not do any river crossings. And instead I call in a plane, J-35FS, with a couple of rockets to try and engage the BRDM, but at that point the BRDM ducked into cover and the J-35 lost its targeting. So, not a whole lot happening, but I'm at a steady +1. My thinking was, if I can keep that up for a longer time, perfect. because then the ball is in his court. He needs to make a move. Or she, but let's assume it's a he, as I have met very, very few female players. Reinforcing this side a little bit. P on PSV coming in, as well as a couple of 185s with more Karuppiah, trying to come through these woods. With the forces that I have here, it should be sufficient, at least looking at it right now. We have the Karuppiah and their grenade launching friends, and hopefully those are able to wipe out the VDV and the Spetsnaz. Now, at this point, I thought, here we go. Because the smoke screens were coming up. I have reinforced most of the infantry units here. I have Ranico 90 at the front line now, backed up with Formosa and Karuppiah. These were a mistake. The KRKKs were too close. And because of that, we're not really able to get a nice volume of grenades out on the target. So I'm trying to pull them back. But of course, where do you pull them back to? Because the smoke screen is too effective. My own mortars don't really have a target right now, but I should have been shooting at or close to the smoke screen. And you can see that he's not quite going for it yet. He's still putting up more smoke, and he's waiting for the Grad. The BM-21 is going to be firing a whole bunch of gifts my way, and with that, stunning/weakening my infantry. This was basically the starting shot of the whole attack. This was the opening salvo. To make matters worse, there's an IL-102 and an Su-24 coming in, so he's really intent on plowing through this forest. And unfortunately, I don't really have too much of a counter. I do take out the Su-24, but the IL-102 is the more dangerous target. And while my Sopel is able to do at least a feint attack, and the Neva gets a shot off, the IL-102 survives, dropping off the Formosa and the Ranico, and here come the VDV. I'm immediately trying to reinforce the guys with more KRKKs. Unfortunately, I had more of them coming in, so there's more Karuppiah arriving. This force is going to be a death trap. This is where there will be a lot of casualties. More Ranico 90 standing by, dealing with vehicles as they come up, but they're only BTRDs. They are armed with a quad PKT, so that's quite a few machine guns. And the Ranicos don't really stand up to that for very long. They will get stunned pretty quickly, but fortunately the Appalachian is able to wipe them out at a decent pace. Unfortunately not so much for the VDV, which are more than capable of wiping out the vehicles that were hiding in that forest. And the reinforcements immediately lost their transport, leading to the almost complete loss of one of the Karuppiah sections. This KRKK was able to survive, throw down some grenades as the guys started pushing out of the smoke screen, or as the smoke dissipated, and at that time the VDV just push out and wipe out the KRKK immediately. Trying to do some counterattack with the Formosa, dealing with some of the VDV, because there are just a lot of them. But they're all pretty clustered. So I'm also using the mortars over here, which I've now bolstered to 2 mortars, to try and suppress them as much as I can. The last thing I want is that these guys push through to the edge of the forest, and that they're going to shut down any kind of further offensive. Over here I'm making some headway on the far left. Karuppiah with KRKK, Zviadauchi and the Pion PSV. No anti-air. That's a mistake. I did not have any anti-air, and because of that, the Mi-24 VP and the 52 are going to have a pretty easy time dealing with anything that I might send out. Now over here, the Karuppiah fighting for their lives against what remains of the scattering of the VDV, and the rest of them I'm going to send in behind them to cut off any kind of reinforcement path or retreat. And I was also thinking, you know what? He launched his big offensive. Maybe, at this point, I can do a counterattack. And if I can find that command vehicle, which really does not have a lot of positions to be in, maybe I can take it out. So, counterattacking over here is something I still really have to focus on. I was more concerned with holding my position and holding my +1 than getting it to a +2, as he would be losing his command unit. Karuppiah being pulled back, getting resupplies, because I am, I believe, sending those in, or I will be soon. Spetsnaz is still reporting on everything that's being sent in, of course. Huge mistake over there. Karuppiah currently not engaging anything, but I think they know I'm there because he just sent in a couple of BMP 685s. Another VP has, the VP has expended all of its rocket pods, or sorry, all of its missiles, dealing with the T-55. And now the K-52 is spotting the KRKKs, and the VP is going to take them out. These are, however, pretty expensive helos, so he was investing quite a bit in that. And as I mentioned, I should have counterattacked here because he didn't have a whole lot, although quad PKTs and the ZU-23-2 could have been more than sufficient to take out the Karuppiah. Now, more reconnaissance coming in. I know there's still VDV out there, I just don't really have the eyes to spot them, so that's going to be the VMP's job. And then the Mi-8 with the rocket pods can take them out. At least that's the plan. Here comes more reinforcements, and here's the resupply to get the Karuppiah back into order. These guys over here. Doing a bit of a counterattack, because I thought I saw the BRDM. Shot at it, not a kill. So far, I thought, you know what, so good, because I'm still at a +1. If I can hold on to this, perfect. Brought up a couple of charioteers to try and do a little bit more anti-vehicle operations, but of course the position here is pretty terrible. I should have put these in a different section, or a different side. The Scots get engaged by the VDV, and the VDV promptly get murdered by the Mi-8T, the Scots, and the charioteers. Oh, sorry, the Formosa, I think. No, the Formosa didn't fire a single shot. Command unit still hiding out here in the absolute line on that sector. Over here, not too much going on. We're still looking at each other, and over on the far right, not too much going on either. I got a T-55, I got a BMP-1, which has been repaired. I also have an Ito-90 and a Sopel here, in case he decides to go on a helicopter spree later. And I will bring in an Ito-90 to around about there to try and cover that same problem from the other flank. Again, a bit of a lull in the fighting, because we're both trying to bolster more forces. He's bringing in Spetsnaz, he's bringing in more units, and I'm doing the same. And trying to get my own forces back up to strength. And finally, I remember, oh right, here are my Yekeri. And the Yekeri are all coming in. This time around I'm going to try to do an offensive of my own, but pretty poorly executed. I did not have a lot of fire support that I used. I should have sent a whole bunch of mortar shells downrange just to do a bunch of damage. And instead I almost blindly rush in without doing any kind of suppression. So that was just plain stupid. I should have done that different. My Newa got taken out. I think it was a Seed aircraft that was able to take it out, so I bring in a new one. And over here comes the Ito-90. MiG-29 913 on patrol. Just preventatively, so that I don't get another visit from an IL-102. And I get the charioteers parked up on the side, Scott 2A there, Formosa's over there. Again, most action focusing here, and not for lack of trying, because the BM-21 just opened up again. Almost on the position where most of my infantry is. So, instead of keeping them in their vehicles, where they would be relatively safe, I panic and I drop them off. Which is a mistake. Because now they're all exposed to the fire. And I thought, you know what, if they're firing here, I'm going to attack them. So I push over the hill, and I immediately get wiped out. Sorry about the shaking of the camera, there's just the BM-21 packages coming down. Skyjet over there immediately wipes out one of the Yekeri. I got more Yekeri going up against the VDV. I'm trying to smoke, no, he's trying to smoke up. And I try to do a little bit of damage with more Yekeri and an XA-185. Unfortunately, this was pretty ill-fated, and this cost me a lot of infantry. This was not a good move. Still, preventatively attacking might have prevented him from being able to launch a bigger offensive than what he was currently up to. Look at that. That KT just got eliminated so fast. Spetsnaz taking some fire currently from the charioteers. Not a moment too soon, because there were a lot of them. The BMP over there on the far side is taking shots at vehicles as they concede with the Conkers. And over here there's another bigger offensive going on with VDV. There's another rocket artillery strike coming in, and he thinks either I have more forces over there, or potentially is hunting down my command vehicle, which so far isn't working. IL-102 tries to drop, gets stunned by the Newa and killed off by the 913. That was very fortunate, because if that had dropped, I would have been in serious trouble here. Now at this point, either I or he was smoking up the position. I'm not even sure whose smokescreen it was anymore. And I'm trying to get more forces in here to try and find the command vehicle. He seems to realize that, pushing the PTRDs and Skreshet forward as well as the Spetsnaz grew against my already panicked Karten Yekeri and panicked Yekeri 90. So this was not really going to work out too well, and I paid the price. There's still more VDV coming down here, and the Skreshets, as they're driving down, wipe out the Karten Yekeri and are very much on their way to killing off the rest of the infantry. Leading me with just a bunch of Formosa, Karten Yekeri, and more Karten Yekeri. And that was it. That was all I had at that point. I forgot about these guys. They had been resupplied by a combination of the MI8 and the Star. But I completely forgot about them. I shouldn't have, but I should have just moved them back in. More Yekeri 90 coming in with their 185 KTs. More autocannons is generally better. Unfortunately, the tree line here makes it difficult. I'm still not quite sure what deck he had, but based on the lighter units that I'm seeing, I think it might have been USSR Airborne. Because I'm not seeing anything much heavier than the 685. I'm seeing VDV and Spetsnaz. I'm not seeing Motostrelki, for example. And he was using quite a few helos, especially here at the VPs and the 52. It's not likely to be a mechanized deck, I think. Can you get... No, you cannot get these guys in the mechanized. So it's either a general, an airborne, or a motorized, considering that he has VDV-90. And let's say that it is airborne. He wasn't really using those as well as he might have. Because he could have pushed right around here with airborne, and I would not really have had a whole lot to stop it. Currently, 273 for me, 22 for him. It is looking good, but the battle's not done. Yekeri 90 trying to hold on to the forest. XA 185 KRKK trying to deal some damage against the VDV, and I can spot them, as well as the Skreshet. And more 185 coming in to try and deal with the Skreshet before they wipe out the Yekeri, which they are far too good at for my taste. Unfortunately, the VDV have no problem dealing with the KTs, but they are being engaged by the Yekeri. Another attack, more grav fire coming in. This time around, very nearly getting a hit on the Copa over there. But the salvo's not done. He can still get it. And there he goes. He got it. Which does not immediately lead to trouble, but it is something that I want to keep an eye on, because if he starts pushing back hard and he wipes out Charlie or puts a command vehicle in it, which would be worse, then he could start ticking up points very, very quickly. And I really don't want that. At this point, very little that I have in the way of his forces, but fortunately most of his were lost during that, that offensive that he just executed here. The other side, not much is happening. Neither he nor I are really interested in making a push, apparently. But as I look at it now, it would have been an interesting opportunity for me to try and smoke up here and just walk my infantry right into the forest. Because there was very little defending that side. A BMP 685 is quickly overcome by, well, almost any kind of infantry. Especially the Spado, their RPG 7 VR. And even more so by the Ranico 90. But didn't do it. I should be more aggressive and more probing next time to see what he has. Fun times begin again as more VDV-90 come in. I'm trying to suppress the guys over here with a bit more mortar fire, dealing at least some stun damage / morale damage to them, or slow them down. 185 KT is being pulled back, Karten Yekeri and Yekeri 90 being pushed forward again, and I have bolstered my mortar forces to having two groups, one over there, one over here. More logistics, trying to keep my infantry alive, especially the Formosa, and unfortunately all of my infantry, or all of my vehicles, and some of the infantry in there get pushed, or sorry, get stunned by yet another attack from the ground. Once again, he's just pushing VDV into my forces, and once again, I'm kind of struggling to hold. Over on the left, again, not much has happened. We're still sort of looking at each other, but both our efforts are focused on Bravo. And with my command vehicle very brazenly sitting in no cover, I'm able to, well, hold on to the sector while dropping a Avia bomb down there and killing off their command vehicle, putting me at a +2. The Avia, with a lot of hit points, fortunately survived, as the only anti-air that he had was a Strela and an Igla over there, but the Igla didn't fire. It's just the Strela 10M that did. So my aircraft survived. It did take a hit. It's going to be out of action for a while. More mortars, hitting back at the VDV, trying to keep them suppressed so that the Karten Yakety and the Yakety 90 can move up here. But this was fire that was so danger close that I actually hit the Karten Yakety and I killed some of my own guys. At this point, there's not really that much of a reason for me to push up directly, because I already eliminated their command vehicle. Nevertheless, I do want to have a go at trying to get through the forest, of course. But with a weakened section of Yakety 90 and more VDV on the approach, it would not be a good idea. Now, I spotted mortar fire from the Nona, and I'm retaliating, but no joy. It strikes close to the Nona, but not at the Nona. So far, no real effective counterfire, and with my mortars, I could not hit the Grads, which were already, again, trying to line up a shot, and he's bringing in more Nonas. Gornostrelki came out of the town to play. Just look at how weak he is over here. I could have pushed in here. I should have pushed in here. I think at this point he might have been getting a little desperate, as I was getting quite a few points. UAZ coming in. Going off-road. And parking itself almost back at the same spot. And here's another salvo from the Grad. The other ones are still loading, fortunately. And this CV over here, well, it was lucky. Because that rocket strike almost exactly hits the spot of the command vehicle. Almost. Because the shells seem to land pretty much all around. Except on the command vehicle. So I think he was more targeting the forest here than the command vehicle over there. Because I don't think that he knows where it is. Again, more VDV coming out. And they once again meet more Karten Yakety. XA-185 KT is trying to support with their autocannons. Pushing through the woods. And immediately starting to suppress and then eliminate the VDV. Also, I remember that I have Formosa, which have been healed up, so I'm pushing those back in. And my Avia 2B is coming back out, dropping yet another bomb at relatively the same position, because I think, well, that's more or less where it's going to be. And yes, it is. So I once again eliminate the command vehicle, even though it was on the move. But the game is still not up. Epic Gamer was definitely not letting up. He was still fighting. And those of you who are more observant to what's happening on the top of the screen might see why. I, at the time, didn't. I did not know what he was doing. I was still more focused on the units over there. I should really focus on learning to zoom out a bit more, and I don't mean zoom out like that, but zoom out in the sense that, okay, I'm not seeing that much more infantry here. Where are his points currently being spent? Well, here. 2 K50s, 2 VPs, an Mi-8 TV, Mi-8T, and an Akula. And they are all coming my way in a hurry. At this point, they find the BMP. I don't even know if I noticed that. I probably didn't. So I was completely oblivious to the fact that there was a helicopter offensive going on that side. I should have paid attention to it now. I think once the Ito 90 died, I wisened up to the fact that, oh, hold on a moment, there is something bad coming my way quickly. But at the moment, I'm perfectly oblivious to that, and I'm just spawning in Tu-55s, napalm tanks, to try and either burn this forest down or protect my CV as best I can. And still, I don't know that there is something coming in from here. And now I find out, because now the Ito 90 died. So it's now up to the Sopel to defend against all of these helos. And it does a pretty admirable job, taking out one of the helos. In somewhat of a desperate move, I spawn in Sokals. It doesn't really help me. Yes, they take out the reconnaissance, and that helped. My Syria 30, my HGM plane, deals some damage against their helos. But there are still some more. But they're blind. The VPs, the Mi-8s, they don't have any optics anymore. And that means that the Sopel has a bit of an easier time of it. Fortunately, there's no anti-air helos, with the exception sort of the autocannon on the Mi-24. This one, with its NSVT, cannot do that much. But the Mi-24 proven to be very capable at dealing with the helo. So now the Sopel is going to have to take out the transport helo. The Neva comes out from the north, taking out the other one, and takes out the transport helo. I did lose Echo. This is something that should never happen again, but I did lose Echo. And actually I thought, you know what? It's not that bad. Because I only have 70 seconds left on this game. I'm ahead by a huge margin, so unless he pulls some sort of miracle, it's not likely to cause that many issues. And I so happen to have a spare command vehicle. I was already banking on this one getting destroyed, so I had parked a second one pretty close. And that means that this sector is double capped. So I can just send this Copa back and make sure that I get control of Echo again. And at this point, it is pretty much GG. Not a terribly eventful game other than the fight for Bravo. But I was quite content with the fact that I was able to survive and not get killed off. Leading me to a total victory. 31-35 points kills, 25-80 points losses. Overall, decent, but I'm still making a ton of mistakes. I did not have enough reconnaissance on the map. I did not see the helicopter push when it mattered, which was when it was still flying over one of my reconnaissance vehicles on the far side. And I did not probe the line where I just showed you in, I think it was Foxtrot, that open area where I could have just pushed into the woods going over the crest of the hill. I don't think he would have seen me there. So overall, meh. I won with a total victory, but there are still so many things that I can do better that I really need to up my game. Anyway, if you have spotted more things that I can improve upon, please let me know down below in the comments. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. If you want to see the previous one, there will be a link on the screen in a moment where you can find the playlist to the previous ranked game. And hopefully, next week, I'm going to continue my climb up the ranks as I will try and counter another player. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon for more videos.